The silence in the Galactic Council's war room was broken by a single, possible beep. Admiral Zarthak's four eyes snapped to the tactical display, his scaled fingers tightening around the command console. The beep came again, then again. Each sound sent a chill through his reptilian spine that had nothing to do with the station's environmental controls. "Impossible," whispered Captain Velinara, her tentacles writhing with nervous energy. "The readings must be wrong." But the display didn't lie. After 3 months of silence, after the complete destruction of the Terran home system, after the humans' final desperate transmission declaring Earth fights on, something was moving in the void. Something that should not exist. The Void Devourers had been thorough. Zarthak had watched the feeds himself Firth's star consumed, its planet stripped to dust, every human vessel reduced to molecular fragments. The species that had dared to resist the galaxy's greatest threat had been wiped clean from existence. Yet here, on long-range sensors, was a ship bearing human energy signatures. "Run the scan again," Zarthak ordered, voice barely a whisper. The holographic display flickered, recalibrated, and confirmed what seemed impossible. A vessel, roughly 3 kilometers long, moving at speeds that violated every known law of physics. Its whole composition registered as unknown. Its energy output was off the charts, and its trajectory was aimed directly at the Devourer fleet's staging area in the Kepler sector. "Sir," the communications officer's voice cracked, "we're receiving a transmission. It's from the human vessel." The main screen flared to life, revealing a face that haunted Zarthak's dreams. Captain Sarah Chen, the human commander who had coordinated the last desperate defense of Earth. Her dark eyes held the same fierce determination. But something else flickered behind them, now something that made Zarthak's blood run cold. "This is the EU's defiance to any Council forces still fighting?" Chen's voice carried across the void, steady and unwavering. "We know you think we're gone. We know you've written us off. But humans don't die that easily." The transmission cut to static, leaving the war room in stunned silence. "Get me a full tactical analysis," Zarthak commanded. "I want to know everything about that ship. Everything." His officers scrambled to comply. Zarthak stared at the display where the impossible human vessel continued its lonely journey through the darkness. The Void Devourers had conquered 47 star systems, enslaved a dozen species, and reduced entire civilizations to ash. But something told him that this single human ship was about to change everything. The war they thought was over was just beginning. Chapter 2. The ship that shouldn't exist 3 days later. In the abandoned Kepler station, Dr. Lyra Voss tried to make sense of the impossible. The human ship had arrived exactly when its trajectory predicted. But everything else about it defied explanation. It hung in space like a silver shard, its hull reflecting starlight in patterns that hurt to look at directly. The vessel's very presence seemed to bend reality around it, creating gravitational anomalies that made the station's sensors scream. "Warnings! The energy readings are off the charts," Lyra muttered, her 6 arms dancing across multiple control panels simultaneously. As the Council's leading xenotechnology expert, she had studied every known form of advanced technology. This was something else entirely. "Perhaps the humans developed something in their final moments," suggested her assistant, Engineer Kess. The young Altarian's crystalline features reflected the strange light emanating from the human vessel. "Desperation breeds innovation." Lyra's compound eyes focused on the tactical display. "This isn't desperation technology, Kess. This is something that took years, maybe decades, to develop. The humans were planning this long before their system fell." The ship's hail came through on all frequencies, clear and strong. "Kepler Station. This is Captain Chen of the UES Defiance. We're requesting permission to dock."
Lyra hesitated.
The station's automated defenses were reading the ship as a threat, not because of weapons, because its very existence was an anomaly that their systems couldn't process. Every sensor painted a different picture of what they were seeing. "Captain Chen," Lyra responded carefully. "Our readings suggest your vessel is ... unusual. We're detecting energy signatures that shouldn't be possible." Chen's laugh came through the but it carried an edge that made Lyra's carapace tingle. Unusual doesn't begin to cover it, Doctor. But if you want to understand how to beat the Devourers, you're going to need to see what we've become. Words sent a chill through the station's crew. What we've become, not what we've built, not what we've discovered. What we've become. Docking Bay 7 is clear, Lyra found herself saying. But Captain, I should warn you our sensors are registering. Some. Concerning readings from your vessel. I know. Chen's voice was quiet now, almost sad. We've paid a price for what we've done. Sometimes, to save everything you love, you have to sacrifice everything you were. The transmission ended, leaving Lyra staring at the approaching ship. As it drew closer, she could see details that made her scientific mind reel. The hull wasn't just metal, it was moving, flowing like liquid, while maintaining structural integrity. Parts of it seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Dr. Kess whispered, "What do you think they did?" Lyra watched the impossible ship settle into the docking bay with movements that were too fluid, too organic for any normal vessel. "I think," she said slowly, "they broke every rule we thought governed the universe. And I think they're about to ask us to do the same." The docking bay's atmosphere pressurized, and for the first time in months, humans were about to walk among the stars again. But as Lyra watched the ship's airlock cycle open, she couldn't shake the feeling that what emerged might not be entirely human anymore. Chapter 3. The Price of Survival. The creature that stepped from the EU's Defiance still looked like Captain Sarah Chen. But Admiral Zarthak's predator instincts screamed that something was fundamentally wrong. She moved too smoothly, her steps causing ripples in the station's deck plating that shouldn't have been possible. Her eyes, once a warm brown, now held depths that seemed to reflect impossible distances. And when she spoke, her voice carried harmonics that made the universal translator struggle to process her words. Admiral Chen said, extending a hand that Zarthak noticed was slightly translucent. "Thank you for agreeing to meet." Zarthak didn't take the offered hand. "Captain Chen, my condolences on the loss of your homeworld, though I confess I'm curious how you survived." Chen's smile was sad and terrible. "We didn't survive, Admiral. We evolved." The briefing room fell silent. Dr. Voss's instruments were going wild, detecting energy patterns that changed by the second. The human captain seemed to exist in a state of constant flux, her very atoms refusing to obey normal physical laws. "Devourers consume matter and energy," Chen continued, settling into a chair that groaned under stresses that shouldn't have existed. "They're the ultimate entropy machines, breaking down organized systems into base components. But they made one mistake with Earth, and that was," Zarthak asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know the answer. "They assumed we would fight them conventionally. They didn't expect us to become something they couldn't consume." Chen gestured, and the room's holographic display activated without any visible command. The image showed Earth in its final moments, not the peaceful blue world Zarthak remembered, but something else. The planet's surface writhed with energy patterns, and the space around it bent and twisted in impossible ways. "We had 3 hours between the first Devourer probe and the main fleet's arrival," Chen explained. 3 hours to implement a plan we'd been developing in secret for 20 years. Project Metamorphosis. You transformed your entire species. Dr. Voss's voice was barely a whisper. "Not just our species, our entire solar system. We converted matter into something the Devourers couldn't process, something that exists partially outside their reality." Chun's form flickered, becoming briefly translucent. "We became living quantum states, Admiral. Humans who exist in multiple realities simultaneously." Zarthak felt his blood chill. "That's impossible. The energy requirements alone would require the complete conversion of a star's mass." "Yes." Chin's eyes grew distant. "We fed our son to the process. 8 billion humans, 13 colonies. Centuries of civilization all converted into quantum entities that exist between dimensions." The implications hit Zarthak like a physical blow. "You destroyed your own species to save the galaxy." "You transcended our species," Chen corrected. "And now, We're the only force in the universe that can stop the Devourers, because we're like them now, beings of pure energy and will. But unlike them, we remember what it means to be alive. The room's lights flickered as Chen's emotional state shifted. The Defiance isn't just a ship, Admiral. It's a living extension of our collective consciousness. Every human who died in the transformation became part of something greater. We are the ship, and the ship is us. Dr. Voss leaned forward, her scientific curiosity overriding her fear. How many of you are there? Chen's smile was heartbreaking. All of us, and none of us. We exist as both individual consciousness and collective will. Sarah Chen is talking to you now, but she's also part of 8 billion other minds that chose to sacrifice their humanity to save the galaxy, and you can fight the Devourers.
Oh, Zarthak asked?
We can do more than fight them, Chen said, rising from her chair. We can show them what it means to face a species that refuses to die. The Devourers consume matter and energy, but they've never encountered beings who exist in quantum superposition. We are simultaneously matter and energy, alive and dead, here and elsewhere. She moved to the viewport, her form becoming briefly spectral, before solidifying again. But we need the Council's help. We need conventional forces to coordinate with. Our abilities, we need you to trust us, even though we're no longer entirely human. Zarthak joined her at the viewport, staring out at the impossible ship that hung in the docking bay. What do you need us to do? Help us wage a war that breaks every rule of physics? Chen replied. Help us show the Devourers that some things in this universe are too stubborn to be consumed. As if responding to her words, the UES Defiance pulsed, with inner light, and for just a moment. Zarthak could swear he heard voices, millions of them, singing in harmony across the void. The dead were calling for war. # Chapter 4, The Battle of Broken. Lost the Void Devourer fleet hung in the darkness. Like a swarm of metallic locusts, their biomechanical forms stretching across light years of space. 300 vessels, each one the size of a small moon. Each one capable of reducing entire star systems to component atoms. Admiral Zarthak watched from the bridge of the Council. Flagship Harmony's edge as the impossible battle unfolded before them. The combined fleets of 12 species had tried to stop the Devourers before. All had failed. Today, they fought alongside something that shouldn't exist. U.S. Defiance. This is Admiral Zarthak. He spoke into the cum, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. Beginning final attack run.
Copy that, Admiral,
Came Captain Chen's voice, but it was different now. Instead of one voice, it carried the harmonics of millions, all, the humans who had chosen transcendence over death. We're moving to Phase 2. Zarthak watched in fascination and horror as the human vessel began to change. Its hull flowed like mercury, reshaping itself from a sleek warship into something that defied classification. Parts of it seemed to exist in multiple locations simultaneously, creating a probability cloud that made targeting impossible. All ships concentrate fire on the Devourer command vessel, Zarthak ordered. Give the humans the opening they need. Council fleet opened fire, their weapons painting the void with deadly light. But the Devourers had faced such tactics before. Their adaptive shields absorbed the energy, converting it into fuel for their own weapons. The return fire was devastating, reducing the Council cruisers to expanding plasma clouds. Then the Defiance struck. It didn't fire weapons in any conventional sense. Instead, it simply ... was. One moment it hung in space, near the Council fleet. The next, it existed simultaneously inside 3 Devourer vessels. The enemy ships began to tear themselves apart as their hulls tried to occupy the same space as the quantum-shifted human vessel. Impossible, breathed Dr. Voss from her position. At the sensor station, they're existing in multiple phases of reality simultaneously. They're also paying for it, observed Captain Velinara, her tentacles indicating the energy readings from the human ship. Those power levels are off the charts. They can't maintain this for long. She was right. Zarthak could see the strain. On the Defiance's whole sections, flickering in and out of existence, the ship's outline becoming increasingly unstable. The humans were burning through their quantum coherence at an unsustainable rate. Captain Chen Zarthak called out, "Your ship is destabilizing. You need to pull back." "Negative, Admiral." Chen's voice now carried the weight of billions of souls. "We didn't sacrifice our humanity to play it safe." All ships, prepare for final phase. The Defiance began to glow with inner fire, its hull becoming increasingly translucent. Through the quantum haze, Zarthak could see ... something. Glimpses of another reality where Earth still existed, where humans lived and loved and dreamed. The ship was becoming a bridge between what was and what could have been. We're not just fighting the Devourers, Chen's voice echoed across all frequencies. We're fighting for the right to exist in a universe where hope matters more than entropy. The human vessel suddenly expanded, its quantum field encompassing the entire Devourer fleet. For a moment, two realities existed in the same space, where the Void Devourers consumed everything, and another where they faced beings who refused to be consumed. The paradox was too much for the Devourers' biomechanical minds to process. Their perfect adaptation algorithms broke down when faced with something that existed in multiple states simultaneously. One by one, the massive vessels began to shut down, their consciousness trapped in recursive loops, trying to understand how to consume something that was simultaneously there and not there. "It's working," Dr. Voss announced, her voice filled with wonder. "The Devourers are going dormant. They can't process the quantum paradox." But victory came at a cost. The Defiance was burning itself out, its quantum coherence breaking down as the humans pushed their transformed existence to its limits. The ship began to fade, becoming increasingly ghostly as it lost its anchor to conventional reality. "Captain," Zarthak called out desperately, "you're losing cohesion." "We know," Chen replied, her voice now distant and echoing, "but we've bought you time. Devourers won't wake up for decades, maybe centuries. Use that time well, Admiral." The used Defiance flickered one final time and then was gone, leaving only empty space and the dormant forms of the Void Devourer fleet. The battle was won. The price was the final sacrifice of humanity's last survivors. Or so it seemed. Ha ha ha. Epilogue. Echoes in the Dark Six, months after the Battle of Broken Laws. Admiral Zarthak stood in the Memorial Garden on Council. Station Prime, reading the names of the fallen. 8 billion humans were listed there, each one a reminder of the price paid for galactic freedom. They're not really gone, you know? Zarthak turned to find Dr. Voss approaching, her 6 arms carrying data tablets covered in equations that hurt to look at directly. "The quantum signatures are still there," she continued, settling beside him on the memorial bench. "Faint, but persistent. The humans didn't die. They dispersed, became part of the cosmic background radiation, the quantum foam that underlies reality itself." "Can they be brought back?" Zarthak asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. "The answer, not as they were," Voss admitted. "But they're still there, still watching, still protecting us in ways we can't fully understand." She showed him her latest readings, subtle fluctuations in space-time that occurred whenever the Council faced a new threat. It's probability shifts that always seem to favor the forces of life over entropy. The humans had become something beyond individual existence, a guardian presence woven into the fabric of the universe itself. "They kept their promise," Zarthak said quietly. "They refused to die, and they refuse to let us die either," Voss replied. "Every time we face extinction, every time the odds are impossible, reality itself seems to bend in our favor. Humans have become the universe's immune system against entropy." As they sat in comfortable silence, a shooting star streaked across the station's artificial sky. For just a moment, Zarthak could have sworn he heard voices in the stellar wind, millions of them, singing in harmony across the void, somewhere in the quantum foam. In the spaces between atoms and thoughts, humanity endured. They had broken every rule of physics, transcended every limitation of biology, and become something greater than the sum of their parts. They were the echo of Earth's last day, the whisper of dreams that refused to die, the proof that some things in the universe are too stubborn to be consumed. The war against the Void Devourers was over. The war for the soul of the galaxy had just begun. And in that war, The galaxy would never fight alone.